up, damnation? Steven the Damn Guide here. So for this week's video, we are going to take a kind of a unique turn compared to our normal videos. This week, this video is going to be leaning more towards the historic side. And by historic, I mean the historic Greenwood Cemetery here in New Orleans. This beautiful cemetery, founded in 1853, is one of the oldest cemeteries in the entire town of New Orleans. It has over 100,000 people interred in this massive cemetery, and it has a very, very unique history. This cemetery was formed by several different unions coming together, trying to offer up more affordable burial prices for families that couldn't afford to be in some of the bigger cemeteries. In this cemetery, the tombs are set up single wide, which is what this is called right here, compared to the normal cemeteries where they are twice as wide, I guess. From what I've read and from the research I've done, a normal cemetery plot would be like these two right here together, but they made these half the size of normal ones, so that way it would be easier and more affordable for families to be buried here. Now, something very, very cool about the New Orleans cemeteries in general is that they are one of the only places in the entire United States where multiple people can be buried on one plot. By that I mean, if we look at this one right here behind me, this has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 people buried inside of this mausoleum, I guess you'd call it. Now, one of the rules that they would have is that whenever someone is buried, their body cannot be disturbed for a year and a day. They would put the bodies in here in either cardboard or wooden caskets and break them up and leave them to decay very rapidly. And whenever someone else died, they would kind of either push the remains back or put them down below, somewhere down in this lower section right here, where it'd have a sort of basement, and they would just leave the bones and remains there. The reason for the 1 year and 1 day rule is that's about the average amount of time with their heat and humidity in this area for it to break down to the point where it is nothing but bones. Now, for some of these other plots that are not in these towers but buried here in the dirt, they would do the kind of the same thing, where they would just have them stacked on top of each other, trying to make the most out of the space that they have. And it is actually pretty common for some of these, like the ones that are below the ground, whenever they're digging to bury someone new, they'll come across a femur, a skull, some sort of bone, and it's even been noted that sometimes you even see the bones sticking up out of the dirt on the surface. Now, while I'm walking through the cemetery, I'm having a little bit of mixed feelings. I know I've always been the kind of person that's kind of found solace, found peace in cemeteries. I don't necessarily find them creepy, if that makes sense. I more so feel like I admire the beauty that they put into the final resting place for these people. I mean, after all, just look how beautiful this entire cemetery is, with all of these ornate statues, mausoleums, and burial stones. And who knows, we might be walking along on this journey and I might find a knocked over tombstone that I'll be able to, you know, put right side up. As you guys that have been following me for a while know, that is something that I absolutely love to do in these old cemeteries. Now, I'm kind of getting this feeling of just how do I describe this? A feeling of awe at the thought that there are over 102,000 people buried here. Which kind of makes sense, seeing as, for instance, this one has 4 people buried there, 2 in this one, 2 in that one. And just look at the size of this cemetery. Now, another interesting thing that I found out about New Orleans cemeteries, and this mostly pertains to other cemeteries, but it also does to this one as well. So the law about the 1 year and 1 day rule. What happens if you have someone die 6 months after and you can't open up the vault and put the new body in because the other one hasn't finished decomposing yet? So what they did is, these ones like that are this size would have 2, 3, maybe even 4 shelves in it. So that way, if you have multiple people dying in one go, then you can just keep on, you know, you only have to uncover one of them. They would block up these individual shelves with old bricks and a thin layer of mortar. And I'd like to go ahead and point out that if you look right here, you can see this old section has the dirt piled up because sinking graves, which are normally a plague or, you know, something that is looked down upon at other cemeteries, is something extremely common here. The tombstones, or not the tombstones, sorry, the grave sites, the coffins that they would put them in are meant to break down. That's why they use the old wood or cardboard ones in New Orleans style cemeteries instead of the metallic ones that are more common throughout the rest of the United States. Now here's something that I just noticed for this one. The Crescent City Lodge number 37. A whole lot of these areas aren't just family plots, as you can see right here. This one is the National Brotherhood of Boilermakers and Airship Builders and Helpers of America. Long story short, you could join these brotherhoods where you pay a small fee, kind of like the Masons or the Lions Club, other groups like this. And part of the deal with you being in this brotherhood is that upon death, if you're a single bachelor who doesn't have any family, you can choose to be buried with your fraternity, with your brotherhood, if that makes sense. So not all of these are specifically family plots, though a whole lot of these are, and that kind of brings up a beauty of the New Orleans style cemeteries. Most places in the world, if you move and die somewhere, then you're buried in that place. But it's a tradition of New Orleans that if your family is from here, no matter where you die, your remains are brought here and buried in your family plot. One of those situations where you come into the world with your family, so you're going to spend the afterlife with your family. And I think that's just something that, another beautifully poetic, I guess, thing about the place. Now I've been walking around and there has been one big thing that I have noticed looking around at this place. There are no knocked over tombstones, which is something that I so commonly find in these places. But here, I have not seen a single one looking around. So this cemetery is very, very well kept, very beautiful, and it's just an amazing place. Now we're going to be going down a different route right now, as you can see. And I just want you guys to take in the beauty, the peaceful serenity. Now this would be a cool place that I would have liked to visit after dark, but sadly the cemetery closes at 4:30 in the afternoon. So that's why we're doing a daytime video today. But I thought it would be a nice change of pace to just walk around, talk, and reflect in cemeteries like this one that are beautiful and so rich with love and compassion and stuff of that nature. Now, okay, so we're going to take a bypass because up ahead I see that there is an active funeral. That's one of the things about this place. It is still in use to this day. So I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to interfere with an actual funeral going on. So we're going to head down this way. Now, this cemetery was founded by a brotherhood of firemen originally. This cemetery and another cemetery adjacent to this one. And up near the front there is a monument towards firefighters, as well as a large mound. Now this large mound is a mass grave and a burial site of over 100 Confederate soldiers who are all unknown as to their identities and who's buried there. So we're going to try and make our way towards the front of the cemetery so that way we can see what's going on up there, look around this burial mound, and see if we can learn a little bit of history about this place along the way. Now, if you look right down here, you'll see that not every one of these sidewalks is paved. Some of them are grass laden. And if you look right here, you'll actually see where some of these tombs, they use concrete blocks to cover them up. Now, older cemeteries that are nowhere near as well maintained as this one are that I've been to, I've commonly seen these concrete blocks broken in. Well, like this one over here. And you can see just how deep into the ground this one goes. Now, I'm not going to go digging around or looking underneath, but if you can kind of tell how that side is sagged compared to this side, chances are if you move that concrete block and looked underneath it, you would find some human remains down there, some bones. And I thought I just saw one, but it was just a stick. Now, whew. I've seen, aside from, you know, some like that are just broken in, which is something that, you know, happens. This place is very, very beautiful. I mean, it's a lovely place to take a walk, if you ask me. So let's see what's going on over here. And I'm sorry about the wind. Let's see. These are some pretty burial sites. And I've always kind of had an affinity for angel statues. Which, according to this one, 1927 to 1939. As well as the burial site of alright, so she was 11 years old, and there's a 2-year-old that was also buried here. I'm glad we have modern medicine because children's graves are very, very common in these old sections where viruses and stuff such as whooping cough, polio, tuberculosis, diseases like that were very rampant. So thank God for vaccinations, or else cemeteries nowadays would be plagued with just as much bodies. There's a broken tombstone, but there ain't no fixing those kind. So far, no knocked over tombstones, which, to be honest, I'm glad to see. As much as I would like to kind of do my part to try and straighten up this cemetery. I suppose you'd rather there be no broken tombstones that I can fix compared to me finding several of them, because that's how you know they take good care of this place. Now, once again, this place is open every day. So if you ever find yourself out in New Orleans and need somewhere away from the hustle and bustle of downtown New Orleans and Mardi Gras, somewhere quiet to reflect, then this is definitely a place to just go for a walk and talk to yourself, or like what that person just thought I did when he drove by, and just enjoy life. Because that's one big thing that I always get this feeling whenever I walk through cemeteries, is that all these people have come to an end. So I need to stop, smell the flowers, if you know what I mean, and enjoy the beauty of this amazing place. And I hope you guys are enjoying this video. I know that it's different compared to our normal creepy videos, but I thought it'd be important to kind of take a moment to just have a peaceful walkthrough of a nice cemetery, reflect on some thoughts, learn a little bit of history, and enjoy how things are for a little while. Now, I found one thing that I really, really like here in these New Orleans style cemeteries, and I'm in love with these angelic statues that they have on top of graves here in New Orleans, and I think I've come to appreciate them a whole lot more even elsewhere and not just here. Though you have to admit, it's hard to find beautiful grave sites like this back in Tennessee. We just don't put this kind of effort into burials, and that's one of the things that I find so beautiful about New Orleans, is that they find beauty in death and have these amazing memorials to mark the end of their loved ones' lives. Alright, so I see it right ahead of me, and I'm gonna kind of turn the camera forward so you guys can see as well. That huge hill right in front of me is a burial mound, and we'll go up here and see just how many people are laid to rest. If I'm not mistaken, this is the burial mound that I referenced to earlier. That is the resting site of hundreds of Confederate soldiers, though I might be mistaken. When I was doing my research on the place, I did read up about the giant elk statue that adorns the top of this, and right over there in that beautiful tower, which is where we'll go to next, is the memorial for firefighters. So that one, me being a firefighter myself, is definitely something that I want to make sure I go and visit. Now hopefully the cars driving by won't be too loud, but let's see what we can see right here, seeing as we are right at the front gate of the cemetery. And I'll read what it says in there for you guys. 11 o'clock toast. My brothers, the hour of 11 has arrived. My brothers, you have heard the tolling of 11 strokes. This is to remind us that with elks, the hour of 11 has a tender significance wherever an elk may roam. Okay, so this one isn't, this is for a lodge, the Elk Lodge, if I'm not mistaken, which would, okay, yeah, I see it now. Okay, so this one is the Elk Lodge, and if you look right here in front of me, this is the original sign for Greenwood Cemetery, and it is property of the Firemen's Charitable and Benevolent Association, which is this one right here. Dedicated October 22nd, 1887. If you look right up there, you can actually see the firefighter up at the top of this statue. Now that statue was made by the same man who made the Tennessee Volunteer Memorial elsewhere here in Mississippi, or in Louisiana. And that is just beautiful. Now, this cemetery is a resting place for mayors, congressmen, representatives on the federal level, generals, and a whole host of different societal groups. Now, as I'm walking around, I just want to bring one more thing to light before we call it an early end to this video. And it's kind of a request for you guys that are watching at home that have made it through 22 minutes of me talking nonstop into a camera walking around a cemetery. I want you guys to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about the little things in life. Think about the beauty of the sunset and the sunrise. Think about the beauty of the world around you. Relax and enjoy life for just a little bit, because you're only given one life. Now, from your friend, TheDamGuide, I wish you all a happy morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Goodbye now, and I'll see you next time.